Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you. I took two big risks. One is that I might be late for the match tonight, and you know it's the match of the century. And secondly, I decided to talk about what I think should be your role in the future. Obviously, I now regret that decision. It's too late for me to change subjects. But merely, the thing is, what should your generation, and more specifically, people who are studying business, do in this world? Well, first, there are worse choices than that. There are worse choices than that. I just hope you didn't take that choice because you wanted to be rich. Because your generation of businessmen will probably be not rich. You will probably be closer to saving the world than being rich. I'll try to explain myself with a few ideas. The first one is the state of capitalism, which is a system in which you were born, but not the system in which you will die. Imagine, and you can close your eyes, you are in the room of a hospital. A sick man lies before you. He's very sick. He has been there since 2008. He's pale, he doesn't drink, he doesn't eat. You visit him every day. A doctor comes in, takes his pulse, his constants, and then he takes a huge syringe and plunges it brutally in his sternum. I don't know if you've seen Pulp Fiction. Okay, that same scene. The patient bounces, opens his eyes, and the doctor seems very pleased after the maneuver. Hey, he opened his eyes. You see, this is working. It's working. This will be fine. This guy will be fit as a horse in no time. Mr. Capitalism will be back and running very, very soon. Just wait one more day. You're there, and you see a second doctor coming in. Second doctor comes in, takes the pulse, doesn't check anything else, comes back to you and says, just get ready for the worst. This man will die tomorrow, maybe today. He's out. I told you, this treatment you're giving him, this quantitative easing, will take him nowhere. This will only precipitate the outcome. It's fatal. He will die soon, tomorrow. You are very confused. You're the son of the man who's lying in front of you. And obviously, you ask for a third opinion. A third doctor comes in. And this third doctor asks you, who are you? And you say, well, I'm his son, the son of the patient. How come? You don't look alike. He's blonde, 6 foot tall, blue eyes. You're short, oriental features. How come? Well, I'm his son. What's your name? I still don't have a name. Okay, well, look, you're only 10 years old, but you are ready enough to face the truth. This man will die. He's in bad shape, and he will die. I mean, he will never be, again, what he used to be. If we change the treatment, we might be able to lengthen his life for a few years. 3, 4, 5, 7, the most. But you have to get ready. Get ready soon. You have to take over. This was explained to me in a different way by a friend of mine some years ago. That's why I needed the board. He explained to me, this is to access time, as usual, and this is prosperity. The prosperity a system can give. And this is more or less the story of capitalism. There's a moment zero. We're probably, according to some people, we are already here. According to some others, we are already here. But most of the scientists and economists think that if we are not here, we will be here in less than 10, 15 years' time. Okay? The problem we have is that the alternative is not yet real. It's more a promise than a real alternative. We don't have yet a clear idea of how the new system will be running and what the new system will be built. So we are getting closer to collapse. Once we get here, we collapse. There is no alternative, we collapse. You can go to any apocalyptic book and understand what collapse means. But mainly, you won't be here, I won't be here either. So what are we going to do? Not us, who are already 50 or 54 in my case, but you. You will have to build a bridge in the next 15 to 20 years. which brings us from here to there. That's the role of your generation as I see it. Now, a bridge to where? If we don't know what the new system is, how can we orient that bridge? Well, there are already a few hints. There are a few countries which are showing us the way. And obviously, those countries are the usual suspects. Scandinavia, Germany, Holland, not so much Belgium, Switzerland, Austria, Canada, New Zealand, Australia for the wrong reasons, basically because they're sitting on a gold mine. All those countries are showing us how this new system will probably look like in 10, 15 years' time. What do they have in common? They have in common 5 things. 1, they are secular societies, non-dogmatic, tolerant, flexibility. 2nd, they have solidarity as a governing principle. This means that they manage the distance between the poorest and the richest, something we don't do in this country, for example. 3rd, they are safe. Not safe in terms of how many policemen you need per square meter, but safe in the sense that a citizen has a non-written contract with a society by which if I one day run out of money, someone will take care of my health and the education of my children. 4, they are sustainable. They have a long-term view for things that matter. And all of them, with the exception of Australia, are shifting from fossil fuels to renewable energy. 5th, and most important for you, they have more, relatively speaking, more social business that understands that the role is to change society for the good than any other countries in the world. So that's your role. Your role is becoming social entrepreneurs. What does that mean? By the way, this is a growing demand. Why is this a growing demand? In the last research Abbas did, Abbas, the group I used to work for and I still collaborate with, we do these huge studies every 18 months. We discovered that when we asked who is going to solve this mess, consumers around the world answered. In 70% of the cases, companies. 70% of the cases. 35% of the cases, governments. And 19% of the cases, NGOs. Okay? But they're not talking about the conventional companies. They're talking about what we call social enterprises. Those are business capable of generating wealth for 5 sources of capital. Obviously, financial shareholders, environmental or natural capital, technological, social, and human capital. This is the sort of business you want to build. Not because you are Mother Teresa, not because you're Mother Teresa. It's because those are the only companies that will survive in the future. And I will try to explain you why. The company that does not understand that shareholders' return is the beginning, but not the end, we will probably be out of business very, very soon. And again, it's not a prophecy. Many companies still don't get this, except in those markets I mentioned before. This not understanding reality explains in part the big disconnection we have now between companies and people. Another question we normally ask to consumers is, which of these brands are relevant? Relevant meaning a relevant brand is a brand that if it disappears, I will cry for. Okay? Well, I don't know if you're aware, but 75% of brands on a worldwide basis are irrelevant. Again, if they disappear, no one will cry for them. In the West, this is emerging and Western markets. In the West, that figure mounts up a little bit. And in some markets like Spain, we are already over 80%. Why is this happening? Basically because of bad communications. Basically because companies still understand the communications chain as it used to be in the past, before the digital era. You don't know this. You don't know this because you're all very young. But when I was your age, in Barcelona and most European cities, we had 1.5 TV channels. One that ran from 10 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock at night, and another one that started only in the afternoon. 5 radio stations, 4 newspapers. That was the media scene we had. They were all controlled. The information was controlled, and everything that was said in that press was controlled. So the capitalism, although it was a democracy, not in the case of Spain until 1978, had a subsystem called communications, which was not democratic. You are the first generation that will have to lead companies in a democratic communications chain. Big change. Now, how does it work? In the old paradigm, it was very easy. You had a message, you had mass media, and you had an obedient third element of the chain, the consumer, who listened to those media, and the day after went to Macy's or Carrefour or El Corte Inglés and bought. Simple, easy. It went on miraculously for 70 years. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore, and it will not work anymore like that. Monopoly of information is gone, and the principle of perceived value, which I hope that by now you know what that means, is gone. So what's the social change of that? The social change of that is that now the citizen is part of the chain and is co-managing the chain. But the citizen is not anymore a consumer, it's a citizen. What's the difference? The difference is values. A consumer is someone that buys, a citizen is someone that has values. And whatever he decides, buying or going on vacation, will be, in a way, more or less conditioned by those values. Any initiative from your side that ignores this fact will be condemned to failure. This is why capitalism is shifting from a supply-side system into a demand-side system. The question is, will capitalism survive? Will the sick man go out of the hospital? I don't think so. And my argument is against long endurance of capitalism is that it's a fact. And the fact is that consumption curves all across the West are flat since 2008. We don't consume more than last year since 2008. Okay? By the way, in emerging markets, it's about to happen the same. Those consumption curves, of course, they are over zero, but they're decreasing. So if citizens are not interested in consuming more, and the communications chain is not working, and mass media are not relevant anymore, how do we build companies? Last idea, social capital. That's the route you need to follow to build a company in our times, and probably Matteo did that. Before TV, companies were in contact with consumers. If I had a beer, the first thing I did was asking my neighbor to taste the beer and give me his feedback. TV, of course, was a key ingredient in building the big brands we have today. But some brands, some of those brands paid an extra cost. They lost the habit of dialogue with consumers. Social capital is the ability of a company to weave ties based on dialogue, joint thinking, and trust with a particular community. It's not easy. It's not an easy route. You need to do 3 things to build social capital. First, respect. You need to see consumers not as consumers, but as a community of citizens, of which your company tries to be a reference. Second, the 3 T's, talk, think, and trust. You need to connect those citizens along the lines of talking, thinking, and trusting, bonding trust with them. And if your community is large, you will have to use technology to do that. And third, complicity. You need to provide to that community not only your products and services, but some benefits that go beyond and really change their lives. If you're able to fulfill those 3 requirements, you will be able to build social capital. And as a bonus, you will be a social enterprise. You will be able to satisfy the demands of shareholders by obviously paying them some return on their investment, your human team by compensating them, as you probably do already, fairly, training them, and ensuring that coming to work is a positive experience, which not always happens. Thirdly, you need to improve the lives of people who conform your society. Fourth, you need to invest in technology, but not in any sort of technology or innovation, especially in transforming innovation, that innovation that makes the world a better place. And fifth and last, you need to bring back to Mother Nature what Mother Nature gave you before this. Many companies have entered that route, many. Here in Catalonia, in Spain, in Europe. I'm not going to give you, but most of them, you know them. There are many, many, many that are entering this route. They are not yet social enterprises, but they have understood clearly that that's the way. All of them are starting to act as social transformation agents. They are activists. An activist is a doer. A social activist is a doer that thinks in society first. That's the future of businessmen and probably, hopefully, yours. But you will have to do it if you want to survive. Other companies, the ones that don't follow that route, will go out of business. By doing so, you will also help the old man having a decent end. There is one thing of the old man that we all want, at least here, which is free enterprise. Free enterprise is one thing of the old system that I would like to be seeing in this old system. Otherwise, we should all go and leave ESADE and go and play football, which probably will make us much richer in the future than being a businessman. Well, thank you very much for your attention.